Did Fury, did he surprise? Everyone thought he was probably going to come out and box you, stay away from you. Yet he came in heavier and said, okay, I'm coming forward and coming after you. Did his game plan, did it surprise you?
Nothing surprised. I mean, I was under influence or something, so my mind wasn't really there.
Wow. Okay. That was a clip again from Brian Custer, his interview with Deontay and Brian asked him, hey, you know, did Tyson Fury do anything different? Did he do anything that you haven't seen before from Tyson Fury? And you heard Deontay Wilder say, well, I don't really know because I was under the influence. I mean, my mind wasn't really there. Okay. You know, we know the spike water claims and we are aware of that. Now we are aware of what Deontay Wilder just told us. So this is where I'm getting. If you didn't know you were there, and I try to defend Deontay Wilder with this, why he fired Mark Breland, because Mark Breland should have told him, you know, or he should have told Deontay Wilder, like, look, I'm going to stop this fight, which I'm still firm on. He should have told him that. However, JD's should have told him that. And it just showed you that that corner was not in sync. They did not have communication, proper communication between themselves and each other, honestly, because Mark Breland had already told JD's had already confirmed to the world that Mark Breland wanted to stop the fight. At that point, JD's, being the head trainer, should have took over from that and let Deontay Wilder, the fighter, know what's going on. Okay, that's first of all. But hearing what Deontay Wilder said, to really override all that, why and how would you tell Deontay Wilder something that he was not even, he was under the influence? He said, my mind wasn't there. So if your mind wasn't there, how can you make sound decisions? Counterpunch. How can you make and decide what to do and what's good to do or what's not good to do? So you had two guys in your corner, both of which didn't tell you anything about what the other one was saying. So they didn't even tell you the conversation that they had about you. Okay. And you're going to blame one of them for that. If Deontay Wilder sat down and really thought about what happened that night, he should fire both of them. If he absolutely positively did not want that fight stopped, right, for any reason, which is retarded, and I'll explain, that means that if they done that, they both talked about what was going on. They talked about what could have happened and what Deontay Wilder expects of us as trainers. But at this point, now you can understand why Mark Breland threw in the towel, because anybody could see you didn't have your legs up under you. You definitely wasn't at yourself. So even if you were punch drunk and not drugged, you still couldn't make sound decisions for yourself, because if you didn't have your legs up under him, how can you launch a right hand that's going to knock him out when you already hit this man flush twice? Make that make sense. He already hit Tyson Fury 2 times. He hit him in the first round, he hit him in the second round. And then after that, the reign of Wilder and his right hands were over, because he didn't land that punch anymore for the rest of that fight, and he commenced taking punishment from Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury had this man backstepping, and he's no good anyway backstepping. Okay, so this is where we're at. We're looking at 3 people: Deontay Wilder, JD's, supposedly the head trainer or whatever, and then Mark Breland, the qualified trainer. And Mark Breland mentioned, hey, I think we need to stop this fight because this shit ain't looking good. You know, and JD's was like, no, he's fine. Keep the fight going. Don't throw in the towel. Okay, so it's a lot of weird stuff going. And then at that point, and what JD said in the earlier rounds, Mark Breland, I don't know which one, because he didn't specify which round that he said he was going to stop the fight. He just said the earlier rounds that he mentioned that he wanted to stop the fight. He being Mark Breland. Okay, now at any point in time, what Wilder needs to understand is, when did these guys decide to tell him any of this? They didn't. Okay, so they were basically talking amongst themselves about the future and fate of this particular fight. You know, and he wasn't getting, he wasn't, look, he admitted, I wasn't there. I was under the influence. Okay. So if he felt that way, nobody can tell us how Wilder felt except for Wilder. Wilder is the only person that can tell us, hey, this is what was going on with me. This is how I felt. It's a lot of times when you go to a doctor and you can't even explain to the doctor how you feel. Right? Especially if you had never had that feeling before. So I get what Wilder's saying. I'm not saying that, hey, he didn't feel a certain way. What I'm saying is he was not able, okay, or competent enough at that point of time to make a sound decision for himself. So why would anybody have to tell him anything at all? They should make the decision for him. That's the fucking job. Counterpunch. And see, Wilder in his own mouth said something that really didn't make sense. Well, I told people they should never stop the fight. I'm a warrior. I'm going out on my shield. Not if you're a wounded one to the point that you can't defend yourself, that you can't fight back. Well, that's not even fair at all. In fact, I hate seeing fights that's one-sided like that, because at this point you see one guy beating another guy and the other guy can't, or in his point, or in his situation, couldn't defend himself or fight back. How is that fair? How is that fair to Wilder? At that point, Wilder has to be saved from himself. He's just a guy in there at this point taking punches, and he doesn't even know why or what's going on. And he still doesn't know, because the spiked water, if there's nothing come out in the drug test, how is he going to prove that he was spiked at all? Counterpunch. You can say whatever you want unless it's some doctor that said, hey, it was some acute or minute substance in his body. Then at that point we can draw a conclusion from that, because it was something that was in his system that Deontay Wilder was not aware of. Okay. But still, at that point, how the rules go, and it would suck if it was something in there, it would suck. Why? Because at that point, Deontay Wilder is responsible for what goes into his body. Now, he can say, hey, I was drugged, this was this, this was that. But at the end of the day, you're still responsible for whatever you put in your body. Counterpunch. And it happens to a lot of people. A lot of people don't know that they're using certain things that have minute supplements, or that supplements could be on the banned substance or PED list, things of that nature. You know, just breaking that down. But nothing was found on both fighters. So the HGH stuff with the Fury stuff, which I'm not even talking about Fury right now. I'm talking about Wilder. Wilder was not at himself. He was not coherent enough to make a decision to stop the fight himself. As looking at it in hindsight, the fight should have been stopped. If he was drugged, his feet weren't under him. You know, I mean, even you might get hit with something. And look at the times when somebody goes down and they try to get up and the legs are all over the place. Was Wilder hurt to that ability? I don't think he was that hurt, but you can still see you come off like someone intoxicated, someone punch drunk, someone under the influence. Okay, that's what it is. And at that point, Wilder could not make that decision for himself, and his corner, or one of his team members, stepped in for him. But anyway, that's just me chopping it up, making a counterpunch about that. You guys tell me what you think about Deontay Wilder's comments. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.